action's coming out with the wavy hair 1 of 1.
Is that what happened? Is
That's
that your Ollie's thing? You got
the running joke, man. I can't stop with it. I'm going to keep going.
Gonna have to fill me in about that, but
the 1 of 1 NFT, the wavy hair. That's like the alien, the CryptoPunk alien. It's like the equivalent.
A lot of queens out there. We saw another queen folded. Queen jack suited, queen 10 off, 2-7, set mine potential if they can get in for cheap. King 6.
Jason's definitely going to set mine here. Only has to get through the button, and he will.
Yeah, so the button's a big blind.
There's a lot of 7s live in this deck right now. I mean, we get queens and jacks and 10s. 7's coming here on the flop. Just watch. 7. Oh,
ton of diamonds. Queen.
Ooh. Ivey.
Hello, Mr. Ivey. Gonna come right
He woke
through.
right up. No yawning anymore.
Oh, that's when he flopped the
I will tell you, that's actually a pretty big tell. If in the middle of a pot somebody yawns, they usually don't have anything. Because when you got the nuts, you're pretty interested.
Sober up.
Yeah. But when you have absolute 0, your body can't help it. I mean, yawning is somewhat unintentional activity that happens.
What do you think about the lead out here? Is that pretty common? I mean, he's like, you're not really worried about a flush draw. I guess
I like.
Phil Ivey suited ace queen. I'm not on ace queen team, but ace queen suited I like. That does help. It just seems like it matters. It does matter. Look at that, instantly into the lead, but not easy to play these hands multi-way short deck with the everyone kind of having a little something. Ace 7 8 8. Look at that.
Wow, that's an action card. I mean, 8s make trip 8s, and I mean Ivey now has the nut flush draw, along with aces and 8s with a good kicker.
Sorry.
I mean, Ivan's gonna bet here. There's no reason to check, and I don't see Ivey doing anything other than calling. He's beating bluffs, and he has the best flush draw possible.
What do you think about the sizing? 150 and a 120 fine with it? Would you like to see even more maybe just to tax some draws?
I like the size. This isn't that draw heavy of a board for a short deck.
Yeah, true. He's got to feel good about his hand. I mean, there's still
he's got to think how many hands are going to call me. That said, I think it's strong enough. He's going to go for a bet. I do wonder, is Ivey going to call? I mean, 9-6 was already a straight. So the only card that really improves is Jack 9. It's not the best that he has the Queen of Diamonds, per se, because he's blocking some flush draw combos that might bet. But he's going to look him up, and it's a very reasonable call.
I've been looking bit like Mr. Ivey. Come on. Ivey only smiles. A lot of history, I'm sure, playing on Triton, and knows Ivan, knows he's capable, which is also one of the reasons Ivan's capable of building big stacks, because when you give action, you get action.
As we look to award our 7th place prize and ladder our way all the way up to 1.17 for our eventual champion here in event number 3 of the 2022 Triton Poker Cyprus Special Edition. Well, the 2 red jacks of Yong did not want to call, and now the 2 red queens for Ivan Leow want to get it all in. Up front, under the gun. And 2 red aces for Phil Ivey, whose patience appears to have been rewarded. Snap calling.
Yeah, he's happy to just be heads up here. He doesn't want anybody else to call.
And he does have Ivan Leow covered, so in case of emergency, he'll still have 240,000 left, and Leow knows this is a very bad situation for him.
Yeah, that's as good as it gets. 73% equity pre-flop.
Both suits covered.
Ivan looking for a queen. Oh, there it is.
Wow, Queen 9-8, and you see the look on Ivey's face. He is not amused. Turn card is a 7, and now Ivey does have a straight draw.
Yeah, 6 would make him a straight here.
So he picks up 4 outs. 6 total, but he needs help, and there is the 6
Oof.
on the river. Runner, runner. Top set gets downed by the 9 high straight, and perhaps a bit of justice, as aces are supposed to beat queens. Ivan Leow with a glimmer of hope.
Wow.
Ivey putting some of those newfound chips to work, limping in. Richard Yong with the 2 6s, Korai, limping in as well.
Yeah, sitting in the hijack. Definitely speculative. Doesn't want to see anybody raising it up. Hopes to hit a set.
Watson on the button with the 10-8 suited, happy to check it. And we'll have a 3-way pot with 360K in the middle. And the flop is ace, king, queen. So Ivey with the best of it. Second pair. Gut shot draw.
Strongest
And-
range.
Yep,
So
exactly.
bets out. Easy fold for Richard. Pretty easy fold for Mike Watson too. Has the gutter, but of course could be drawing dead to the Jack 10 or drawing to a chop rather.
And now a little bit of momentum for Phil Ivey as he picks up yet another pot and clears the 3 million chip threshold.
Elton, one of the worst hands here in this game. King 6 on the cutoff.
Yep.
Only has to go through Phil Ivey though.
Paint and a 6 offsuit are really undesirable holdings here in short deck.
Does call though only 40,000 to call. Pot already 320,000 now. Phil Ivey debating whether to try to steal it right there or see a flop in position. Does check it. Oh,
Tens full of 6s for Ivey. Doesn't get much better than that. And Tsang is actually connected here with a 6.
yeah, similar spot like he just had where he flopped bottom pair on 9-9-7. Now he flops bottom pair on 10-10-6. Let's see whether he decides to put a small bet out there again. Checks this time. Phil
Ivey
Ivey
has
with
so much hand here, Korai.
yeah, he wants to to get a little bit of value. Bet small, just 100,000, 30% pot bet.
And the other cool thing about this bet is it could very much look like just an attempt to pick up the pot on this paired board in position.
Yeah,
Elton.
that's definitely possible. We saw Ivy just betting at it with air earlier.
And
Elton might have
this
seen
is
that.
exactly what Ivy wanted to
Wow.
see. Is Elton saying playing back at him under the assumption that Ivy is just stealing.
Yeah, Elton with a small raise here. He has the 6. He thinks he's blocking the full house. I mean, it is more like, or it is less likely that Phil Ivey has it, but this time he does have it. Of course, just smooth calls.
Yeah.
Wants to keep all the bluffs in.
And Elton did not want to see that. Queen on the turn. And it's saying going to be done with it, or is he going to continue to try to represent?
Yeah, weird spot here. He knows that Phil Ivey could have a hand like 9-7. And Elton would technically be ahead of those. Of course, a bit thin to value bet. Let's see. Yeah, does check it. It's tough for Phil Ivey to put his opponent on a range here. Was that just a stone bluff? Then he should check it back. His opponent could have hit the queen here, though. He's looking to get some value, probably a smaller bet. Yeah, bets a little less than half pot here.
As Elton pumped the brakes, and I suspect he's all done with his hand, Korai. I think he took his one shot there on the flop.
Yeah, that would be very ambitious to call here. Even if he would have the best hand here, there's the river still to come. And he knows that Phil Ivey might bluff at it too, if this was a bluff. He knows he's up against Phil Ivey. And this is a big pot.
I'm convinced at this point that these two have tremendous history with one another.
Yeah, both Triton regulars, of course.
Feels as though Elton may have some PTSD, a little post-traumatic stress disorder from some bluffs that Ivey has shown him in the past.
Yeah, Phil Ivey just hoping that his opponent has a 10 here maybe also. And Elton is looking at his chips, grabbing them.
No.
No.
Thinks better of it. Obviously, it's the kind of hand that really doesn't like any river.
Tsang, and the hijack just a little bit too weak, the weakest of all aces. And Richard Yong has ace king behind him.
Yeah, that's what we do.
After, yeah. I mean, Phil Ivey, of course, goes all in with the jack 10, only having to go through to Richard Yong, who wakes up with a monster behind him.
Yeah, he
Going off
does.
to the races.
And this would be huge for Richard Yong, Korai, who just kind of languished on the short stack for so much of this final table. Remember, he was just a card away from being eliminated with pocket tens when Elton Tsang called for a 10 on the river despite being heads up against him. And that kept Richard alive. His son Wykin was eliminated on the bubble, and his ace king is still in front on this very dry board for a jack 10.
Oh,
Until the jack of clubs somehow rolls off the deck, and now Ivey poised to take this 3.85 down. The river is a queen, and that's it for Richard Yong. An unfortunate turn card for him. Just when it seemed like he was rallying and the momentum was in his corner, we were maybe going to see a new face up at the top of the leaderboard. He is forced to go home with $241,000 for the 6th place finish. Made the trip here from the States after a very fruitful U.S. Poker Open.
Happy to be here.
Yeah,
I'm
good to have
stoked
you
to
with
watch
me.
the short deck as well.
And Dylan, a scholar of the game, also does some coaching, mostly in the PLO streets, as we see Ivey moving all in here with an ace-6, Koon with the ace-king suited. The action has been fast and furious at this stage of this final table, Dylan. And
I have a 6 again, my friend.
you're cut from the PLO cloth, so you like a little bit of gamble, and short deck obviously gives you plenty of that fix. And Jason Koon not exactly gambling with ace-king suited against ace-6 off.
Oh,
And somehow a 6
already.
on this flop.
Very
giving
unfortunate for Koon.
Ivey bottom pair and the lead. Short deck replete with bad beats, as we know. Now suddenly on the turn, some opportunities for Koon.
Spots like this on the final table, the short deck events, all you can do is do your best to get it in as like a 60-40 maximum, right? So Koon did everything you could here.
He sure did.
Come on,
And
guys.
unfortunately
Eugene
for him,
Dixon.
the 10 pairs on the river, and it was not to be for Jason Koon. He talked about just being kind of on the brink of having a stack that might be able to relax a little bit, but just grinded, and did well for himself as ultimately he finishes in 5th place, taking down $315,000 and allowing the remaining. Anytime you can come out to a Triton Series event and watch it being played by the guys who really were the forefathers of,
Yeah, the
of short
pioneers.
deck, it's fun. And then for me, it's always the contrast in styles that create the most interesting opportunities. And just from the few days that I've been here and the conversations that I've had the opportunity to have with a lot of these guys that play the game regularly, it has been eye-opening. And
Yeah.
I think there's also been some development with respect to the game. Once upon a time, you would see people like Kiat Lee with that Jack 10 suited just now, ready to rip it in there in that spot. But there's been a little bit more thought, a little bit more computing power put into things,
see
and
here.
folks
Wait,
aren't
that-
quite as apt
right?
to rip it in there as though
have
those Jack 10 suiteds are always correct.
I think it makes a lot of sense coming from the cash game background that short deck evolved in. In a cash game, you have Jack 10 suited, someone goes all in for 20 blinds in front of you, you're not even thinking, you're like doing a little dance
That's right.
beforehand.
That's right.
But in a tournament format, as you said, with that an introduction of computing power where you can really see how the math plays out in these more intense ICM situations, the future game value, all that jazz that the smart dudes are doing, you start to realize that the close equities just make it a different game than it's played in cash. Like the same thing for PLO cash games and PLO tournaments. Elton here does have a tough decision. You much rather want to be ripping it in with pocket nines than calling with pocket nines because almost always it's a coin flip. As we see here, it's a coin flip.
And that coin favors the ace-jack of Kiat Lee, who has put Elton to a decision.
Okay. I call.
And he's going to make the call.
Yeah, for the 7 blinds, it seems. I think it's even closer than most people would expect it to be because you just really want to be the player going all in these environments where antes exist, right? Antes are so powerful, and so it does help with the odds for calling as well. But when you're the one going all in, there's a probability of you not getting called. Whereas when you are the caller, no matter what, you're going into that coin flip.
Yep. No fold equity when you're the caller.
Yep. Exactly right.
So the wheel spins. And it comes up clean so far for the 2 nines on a paired flop.
Looks pretty for Elton for sure.
Just give me a 9. And this right here. Huh?
I love the way that Elton sweats for his cards. He doesn't ask for like the middling card that'll give both players a straight draw.
Oh, the jack on the turn. And now Kiat Lee takes the lead, but Elton can still hit a 9. 7 or a queen, also an option, which would give him the straight in this 1.6 million chip pot. That's for his tournament life.
Oh.
Ace on the end. And that's it for Elton Tsang.
Good game, Elton.
GG.
You always have to play well to get to these final tables. These pocket 10s might have even been a fold the hand before if Elton still is in, but now he just gets to go all in here. It looks like the ante's gone up, so he has about 22 blinds here.
Yeah, 60K ante, 120K on the button. In it gets ripped with these 2 10s. And did I hear a call? I sure did. It is Phil Ivey on the button. Was woken up with 2 red kings, and Watson is like, really? The minute I get the handcuffs taken on me, you got to just lock me up with 2 kings?
It's a very specific feeling to poker tournaments, especially people who've been playing poker tournaments for so long. You're just waiting for the spots to open up again. So you had to have those handcuffs on because you just know what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And this is a great spot for Watson. 2 10s is a very powerful hand. But when someone like Ivey wakes up with the kings, you know that. Oof.
Oh, and a king in the window. If it was bad before, it's horrific now. Nightmare fuel, this board for the 2 10s. 5.3 million chip pot.
It's very rare in short deck that you see 92 to 8 on the turn.
That's right.
That looks like it's GG for Mike.
Yep. Drawing dead without any help. And Watson, who was the chip leader for so much of this final table, dispatched unceremoniously. And Kiat Lee, the beneficiary, as he is going to go heads up against Ivey. Watson was able to realize the pay jump from 4th to 3rd of 130,000 as he will take home 538.
Much rather be the player going all in and just ending the hand.
And it looks like Ivey has negotiated for a quick break before we really dive into this heads-up play where Ivey will have shy of a 3-1 chip lead on Kiat Lee, who's got 4.1 million, good for 69 antes with those antes at 60K. Ivey, however, the overwhelming leader with 186 antes. Fortunes can change rather quickly, and Ivey's going to start it off with a cooler here.
Yeah,
Ace-King suited against Ace-10 suited, Dylan.
So this is what I was talking about prior to the final table starting, is that Kiat should be limping a lot in this situation when he's the out-of-position player. With that being said now, and this is actually fascinating from Bill, he chooses not to go all in, which means that he's going to have 2 sizings here. He's going to have his smaller sizing, small quote-unquote, which is a 500K, and this is going to be an all-in and a snap, yeah? Not even, this is just a cooler. Nothing you can do here.
Yeah. Absolutely. And is this going to be it right away?
I mean, at a really high frequency it is, right? And I love the way Kiat played this hand because we know what both players are supposed to be doing. Kiat's supposed to be limping, Phil is supposed to be raising, and so Kiat needs to find really premium combinations to play as those traps. Ace-10 suited is a very good hand to play as a trap re-raise here, but Phil just showed up with the nuts.
Yeah, the trapper potentially becoming the trap E on this Queen 6-7 rainbow flop, which favors Ivey even more. 73% to 20%. Still some possible chops. The turn will bring it into focus, and the ace doesn't help Kiat Lee's cause. He still needs one of 3 10s here to avoid being eliminated. Just 2 hands into heads-up play. Is it there? Nope.
Quick one.
5, 6, 7, 9. Just got a double check and a quick wrap of the table means that's it. And Kiat Lee will finish in second place for $840,000, but Phil Ivey is your champ here in event number 3, the 75K short deck, adding to his $5.7 million in career tournament earnings. That new number will be north of 6.8. His second title in the Triton Series, his 7th cash. And what a performance it was from Phil Ivey. And how exciting is it to see a legend of the game like Ivey, who definitely didn't cut his teeth in a game like short deck, emerging the victor here today.
He's the GOAT for a reason, right? It's phenomenal to see Phil Ivey not only competing at the highest level this deep into his career, but thriving.